Gershon and one Svi.
I can be David as well.
Why, it's Svi David?
No, my government name is David.
Oh, yeah? There you go. There you go. Okay. Okay.
Do we have any exciting information regarding the gematria of David, like 14?
Yeah, David does.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, sorry.
Chabad.
Chabad, there you go. There you go.
That was Chabad. Chabad is the right hand of Hashem.
Ches, base, David. 8 plus 2 plus 4. It's this tiny little word with a tiny little gematria. Very few 3-letter words have such a small gematria. L'chaim. Okay, Rabbi Solberg will be teaching for the week that I'm gone. Please come. Meaning, b'chlal, there's a thing, substitutes, I don't have to get out of bed, all that stuff. But, just b'chlal, this, and also just for his coverage, show up. Because I think you're going to be learning Torah or the Torah or and the Parsha. I think that's what he decided to do, which will be something useful. Okay. I'm having such an issue getting this. This is downloaded this from the computer, obviously. The sefer that I learned the Sicha from has a completely different pagination, and it's just every morning I'm disoriented. Like where are we on the page? Because it's a different page. I have this picture in my mind of where I was, but okay. I think we are on page 295. V'yesh lemesh al yedei shemeshi hitzliach. Right. I think that's where we got, okay? So the Rebbe had just told us about the fact, and mentioned this earlier in the Sicha, the Rebbe talks about it. And it's an incredible shot in the whole story of Moshe Rabbeinu and the Eibusher at the Sneh, that when Moshe says, Shlach na biyad tishlach, he's asking not, don't send me, send someone else. He's asking, I would like the one you're sending now, I would like to be sent then also, meaning that the Goyal Rishon should be the Goyal Achron, the first Redeemer, Moshe, should be the Goyal Achron, should be Mashiach. And that request is granted to Moshe. Right? Moshe to the Eibusher says, okay. Even though the simple shot in this story is the Eibusher, so to speak, it's not so to speak, it says, the Eibusher got angry at Moshe after he said that, because he'd been saying no for 6 days. And there was a certain result by virtue of the fact that Moshe did not want to take upon himself this job, was that Aaron became the Kohen and not Moshe. And that's simple shot in the Torah, right? The Eibusher says that Aaron will greet you, and etc., but it also says that Aaron will be the Kohen. Theoretically, Moshe could have been Melech and Kohen. Right? Those are mutually exclusive. But Aaron was Kohen. His Kohen, meaning Kohanim still come from Aaron. Leviim come from Moshe. Any Leviim here? Other than me? I'm a Levi. My father was a Levi. That's why I'm a Levi.
But if this would have happened, then the Mashiach would be also the Kohen Gadol, and
yeah, that would be interesting. I mean, how you pull that off. But I mean, in all fairness, Mashiach would. That's an interesting question, right? Would the descendants of Moshe would definitely be Kohanim if that were the case, but would Moshe himself as Mashiach have to be a Kohen? It must be from Shevet Yehuda in the revealed way. Moshe the Mashiach is from Shevet Yehuda, not a Levi, right? So the Melech would be not a Levi, right? Not a Kohen.
So it wouldn't be that the first Redeemer is like the last Redeemer.
Yeah, so and so we have that issue is how she's a Levi and Mashiach's, but that's fine. That's the Leviah of it is not revealed. His name isn't Moshe either. Necessarily. right? But it's the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the leader of every generation based on that Zohar, right? I mean, that statement of Moshe Rabbeinu, that request of Moshe Rabbeinu, is what the Rebbe doesn't say it in the Sicha here, but simple pshat that request is what creates the reality that the Zohar talks about of the hitzpashtusa de Moshe b'chol dada v'dada, that there's a Moshe Rabbeinu in every generation. Without the need for Moshe to be Geil Achron, there's no need for there to be the Moshe of every generation. Meaning there has to be a leader of every generation, but Lav Dafka, that leader has to have the neshama of Moshe Rabbeinu. Right? Every generation has to have a leader. Fine. Okay. Wouldn't necessarily have to be Moshe. Okay, page 295. Isn't that a highway in Miami?
I-95.
I-95. Wow, okay, sorry. I-95. There's probably a 295 around there somewhere, because usually there's a 195 and a 295 and a 395, all these other things around. Okay. Okay, V'yesh Lema. The second paragraph on the left column on page 295. Shal Yedei Moshe hitzliach lifo. By virtue of the fact that Moshe was successful in bringing about Shalachna B'yad Tishlach, that request was granted. Al Yedei Zeh Shegoyel Rishon U'Geil Achron. By virtue of the fact that the Goyel Rishon is Taka the Goyel Achron, meaning Mashiach is the Moshe of the generation. Nifal hayichud shel shnei inyanim v'maylos. So Moshe brings about the unity of these two different levels that we discussed at the end of Shir yesterday. Moshe, the Rav, and David, the Melech, right? Malchus and Chochmah. Right? Transcendent reality and immanent reality, or in the language that the Rebbe uses most often in the Sicha, explaining it yesterday, the Mashpi and the Makabel, right? That they both become one. Nifal hayichud shel shnei inyanim v'maylos, these two ideas and these two positive aspects of reality, the Mashpia and the Makabel, each having their own advantage. Asher Mashiach mechil b'kirbay. Mashiach mechil, from the word kol, right? It's a verb, and it means he contains within himself, like a kli also, right? The kirbay, shnei inyanim umaylos, two aspects and two advantages. Nesef lezen, this is what we talked about outside, but now the Rebbe is actually saying it, and this is not the first time the Rebbe has said this in these sichas, in the year of these sichas. Nesef lezeshu melech, in addition to the fact that he's a melech, ugam rav. Melech is Malchus, Rav is Chochmah. Chochmah is the most obvious expression of the Mesha of Mashiach, and obviously Melech is the expression of the David of Mashiach. V'yalamed Torah es kolam kulei. Mashiach will teach all of the people Torah. Keilel l'Moshe Rabbeinu v'Avis. Also, who's Mashiach going to be teaching? Moshe Rabbeinu and the Avis, because they will. The Rebbe doesn't talk about it here, but one of the things that's talked about a number of times is when Tchias HaMesim, when Mashiach is revealed, so Tchias HaMesim will affect the tzaddikim right away. Right? Certain tzaddikim will come back right away. It'll take evidently up to 40 years, the first kufa and the second kufa of Mashiach that we talked about in the previous Maimer. So the difference in those two kufas could be up to 40 years. Right? What happens in those 40 years? Well, we're having a good time here in Eretz Yisrael with the king, and there's a base of Mikdash, and we're bringing Karbonis, etc. And there's also Tchias HaMesim. People are showing up, right? Who shows up first? The tzaddikim, right? So, right up there in Gan Eden, we talked about this when we were learning Pada B'Sholem. Up there in Gan Eden, they're going to have to look for someone to forbring after Mashiach comes, right? Because Moshe Rabbeinu was supposed to forbring that Shabbos, or Avram Avinu was supposed to forbring that Shabbos. It was his Shabbos. And after him, they get the news that Mashiach has showed up down here, and Avram Avinu and Yitzchak and Yaakov and Yosef and the Shvatim and Sarah, Rivka, Rochel, Leah, and all the Heilige Yidden throughout and Rabbi Akiva and all sorts of amazing people show up down here. We're having a blast down here with all these people. And up there, there's like, I always have, obviously it's a ridiculous vision, but I always have this vision of one of those big boards you see in the bank with the number that you have, you're waiting for your number, and there's, 603,000 numbers, and you're going, oh man, I'm 552,812. Where are we? Oh, 42,000. Oh my gosh. You wait until your number's called, and then you come back down here. It's amazing. Right, so up there'll be a whole bunch of neshamas hanging around, but a lot of the tzaddikim will already be down here. So the Mashiach is going to be teaching Torah, also to Moshe Rabbeinu and the others. It's going to be very exciting down here. Val derech zeh b'Moshe yesh legam ma'ilus hamelech. Moshe also himself, Moshe the person who lived those 120 years from the year what? Moshe was born in the year 2368, right? Moshe was born in the year 2368. In the year 2448, which is the year we got out of Mitzrayim, so he was 80 years old. So Moshe was born in the year 2368. So from the year 2368 to the year 2488, which were the 120 years that Moshe Rabbeinu was actually walking around in Elam Hazeh as Moshe ben Halevi, right? So he was also a melech then. Yesh legam ma'ilus hamelech, as it says in Devarim, Yehi b'shur and melech, referring to Moshe Rabbeinu. V'yesh leimar shezeh merumaz. This is also hinted at gam bekach sheMashiach. This is what we talked about yesterday. Mashiach hu begematria shaliach, b'tosefes eser, connecting the inyan of Mashiach to shaliach. Remember the Rebbe's talking to the shulchan, telling them what shlichus is, right? And shlichus is about bringing Mashiach. That is shlichus. So Mashiach is the gematria of shaliach, but Tosefes Eser with an additional 10. The lamed turns into a mem. What are those 10? The 10 powers of the soul, the truest expression and fullest expression of the 10 powers of the soul. 3 of intellect, 7 of emotion. Shechein Shleimus, that includes Malchus in the 7 lower ones, even though really Malchus stands by itself, as we know, as we were learning about yesterday. Shechein Shleimus Gilui Mashiach, the completion and the wholeness of the revelation of Mashiach, who al yadei shu mivatzeya es avedose kishaliach. That's by virtue of the fact that he expresses his aveda as a shaliach, im kol eser keiches nafshe, with all 10 powers of his soul, michochma vad malchus. And that's what we're saying. The shaliach is Mashiach is chochma, Moshe Rabbeinu, and malchus, David HaMelech. Al piya yidua, based on that which is known. We're going to go fast because this is the last time we see this. Because tomorrow morning, Rabbi Silberg will be here. And tomorrow morning, while you're doing this, what am I going to be doing at 6:30 in the morning? I'm going to get into a car and drive from an hour out of Vienna into Vienna. How's that for excitement? Al Pia Yadua, the SEM. I think we mentioned this, but it is interesting to know. You should know what goes on in the world. In Austria, so there's a Lubavitch SEM for about 22, 24 girls. Small little SEM. And where is it? It's an hour outside of Vienna in a castle. There's some castle in Europe, right? Castles everywhere in Europe, right? So some castle that's huge. It's an enormous castle with all these grounds around. It's like mamish a castle. It has a turret, the whole thing. Like it's a real castle. So this castle, the Austrian government was tired of taking care of this castle, so they wanted to get rid of the castle. So Lubavitch bought it for €1. They bought the castle for you. The government just didn't want to have to take care of it, costing them money. And they weren't doing anything with it. There's no one living there. So they sold it to Lubavitch. They on the condition that they had to use it for something. So they use it for a SEM for English-speaking girls during the year. 22, 24, mostly Americans, some Europeans, some South Americans, are in a SEM there. And in the summer they use it for summer camps for kids in Europe. But it's mamish castle. It's gorgeous. It's unbelievable. It's not in the Alps. It's on the way to the Alps. It's a little bit above, but not so much. It doesn't get snow there, right? But it's in farmland. It's absolutely gorgeous. So there's this SEM an hour out, and the people who run the SEM live there. So their kids have to get into school in Vienna every day. So they have a driver who lives out there with them, and he drives them in every day. So at 6:30, he takes the kids in. So that's my ride into Vienna tomorrow morning, to get back to civilization and get to a plane with a mikveh on the way. Very nice mikveh, Baruch Hashem. Costs €4 in case you happen to be in Vienna. The mikveh is €4. No credit cards, which is annoying. Last time I went, Mendelssohn gave me €4, so this time I'm on my own. I had to find my own €4. Rummaging around in my house. They found them. Okay. So tomorrow you guys will be learning something else. So let's I just wasted 3 minutes explaining that all to you. So I could have been learning. Al Pia Yedua. Based on that was no. Shekol Yehudi, every single Jew, Yesh Mei Bechinas Mesha, Bechinas Mashiach. Every Jew has within him the quality of Mesha and the quality of Mashiach. The quality of Mesha Rabbeinu is what's called the Yechida Klolis, the Moshe Rabbeinu of every generation. Moshe Rabbeinu himself, Moshe Rabbeinu says this, right? The 600,000 Jews, Raglia Am Asher Anochi Bekirbai, that I am in their midst, says it in Baleischa, right? And every single Jew, your Yechida, Shebenefesh, which is no longer on the board, but it used to be. Your Yechida Shebenefesh is a little piece of the Yechida Klolis, the general Yechida. It's called the Yechida Pratis, an individual Yechida that is a little piece, so to speak, of the Yechida Klolis, which is the Mesha of the generation. You have a little piece of Mesha's Neshama, right? The song, I've got a little piece of Mesha in me, right? Never heard the song? One of these, modern Jewish rock and roll songs by Eighth Day. It's an amazing song. How do you get out of your own gullus? I've got a little piece of Mesha in me. I can get out of gullus. Every single one of us has a little piece of Mesha in us. And also, every single Jew has, this is based on Psukim, has a little piece of Mesha. Right? That's the Me'or Einayim in Parshas Ping. The Me'or Einayim was the Chernobyl Rebbe. Right, Menachem Nochem of Chernobyl, who is famous in our generation for saying. In those days, he was famous because he was just a big tzaddik and had a lot of Hasidim who lived in Chernobyl. But he was famous for saying 180 years ago, probably closer to 200 years ago now, he once told his Hasidim, Mashiach will come after Chernobyl blows up. Which is quite a thing to say 200 years ago, based on what happened in our lifetime, or maybe our lifetime, and it's fairly recent history for you guys. Right? Chernobyl blew up. Okay. Therefore, since every single Jew has a spark of Mesha in him and a spark of Mashiach in him or her, so then that means every Jew has these two milas that we just discussed. Kol Yehudi hu shaliach shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Every single Jew has that aspect of Mashiach, which is a shaliach shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's why Moshe said, Shalach na biyad tishlach. He used those words to describe what Mashiach's going to do. He's a shaliach, shlach na biyad tishlach, and the one you're going to send. And what's Moshe asking? That I, the Goyal Rishon, want to be the Goyal Acharon. He hasn't taken upon himself the job yet, but he wants the job description to include Goyal Acharon. The Eibishter acquiesces. Kol Yehudi Shaliach Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu L'shamish Eskainu, to serve his master. Klolos Shlichusei, the general reality of his shlichus is, Mizbates, is expressed, be what? Lahayar al Aretz, to illuminate in this world. Make this world a lichtika place. Reveal godliness in this world. That's why we were sent here. Lahayres ha'olam kulei, to illuminate the whole world, ba'or ha'kedusha, in the light of holiness, u'ba'or eloki, and in godly light. U'bezeh yesh b'chlal shnei oifanim. There are two different ways, two different aspects of this. Al derech, just like, what do we learn in the beginning? We talked about this yesterday. Shnei ha'ma'oris ha'gdolim, the two great luminaries. Now, there were two great luminaries. It says there were two big luminaries, and then in the same pasuk it says the big luminary and the small luminary, which doesn't make sense because we just said there's two big ones. So of course, what story does that teach us about? That they were both very big and sources of light, and then one of them, by virtue of being unwilling to share some space with the other one, was diminished and became the moon, and became a receptacle for the light of the sun, to reflect the light of the sun. So that's the Ma'or HaKatan. But they started out as Shnei Ma'oris HaGedolim. Ma'or HaGadol and Ma'or HaKatan. Right? The big one and the small one. Yadua. Shegam es ha'olam nosen belibam. Also the world he put in their hands. The Rebbe is throwing out all sorts of basic statements in Chassidus that have sichas about them. But what does the Games Ha'olam Nasan Beliba mean? It's a pasuk in Koheles that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given control over the world to us. We control what goes on. Right? I mean, with responsibility goes obligation, and with obligation goes responsibility. I mean, that's the way it is. You can't complain about the state of the world. You don't like the state of the world, fix it. You're a yid, and you have the ability to fix it by doing all sorts of positive things to illuminate the world, as opposed to kvetching about the fact that it's not the way you want. Well, make it the way you want. Right? One of the speeches at the keynote, the only one I heard, actually, I heard two. Right? There was Raskin from Bermuda. So he said that one of the most important things he ever heard in his life, he was at the keynote when Dr. Sachs spoke, Jonathan Sachs, all over Sholem. I remember that keynote. He spoke beautifully there. Man's amazing. Right? He also didn't follow orders. Right? He was not supposed to mention a particular person's name. There was political stuff going on, and they just wanted to stay away from it. But this was the person that brought him to Lubavitch. So one of the first things he did when he got up there was to mention his name, which everybody was very happy about. Rabbi Sachs mentioned that at one point he said to the Rebbe, in the situation I find myself in, and the Rebbe, usually the Rebbe doesn't interrupt people when they're talking. The Rebbe lets them talk and then says what he wants to say in Yechidus. So the Rebbe interrupted him. He said, the Rebbe interrupted me and said, it's not the situation you find yourself in, it's the situation you've made for yourself. You don't find yourself in any situation. Whatever you're dealing with, well, that's what you've created, that situation. So the Jew has to make the situation. That's what Raskin was talking about, make a situation. So why was he talking? He was talking, and first of all, he's a good guy, but he was talking obviously because he's dealing with the hurricane that just wiped out Bermuda. They still have no water and no power in his house. It's been weeks, but I mean, it was massive. And he spent most of his time helping other people, but he's also dealing with himself. His Chabad house was severely damaged. The whole bottom floor was full of water. And so he was talking about, well, okay, so make a situation. What's my situation? I have to make my situation a situation of positivity and building and changing and going and fixing, and that's the situation. So that's the idea of as Olam Nasan Belibam. The Eibishter gave the world into our heart. In other words, he gave us the ability to create the world we want to create. B'chol Yehudi mishtakfim kol inyan Olam. In every single Jew, mishtakef means it's like it's expressed and visualized through every single Jew. Well, maybe you don't know, but there used to be something called slides. They were called shkufiyot. Remember slides? Like, pictures. Instead of pictures, people had slides. So they still have slides. Who has slides? Radiologists have slides. Those are the only people who look at slides anymore, right? But there used to be, you could take in your camera, instead of getting pictures, you'd get slides, and then you'd put them through this projector. And it was very annoying because all the people who got slides would make you sit in their living room and watch their slides, which was always annoying. Just give me the pictures and I'll do it on my time. But no, you had to sit there and they had to explain every one, and then you'd fall asleep. But it was dark in the room, so it was okay. They
were expensive.
Yeah, they're more expensive than pictures. So interesting. What are they called? Shkufiyot. Okay, so a slide that a radiologist looks at, shkufiyah. Oh, so that's mishtakfim. Somehow it visualized, expressed, shines through. It's a hard word to translate, but okay, you get the idea. That's a slide. It's called a shkufiyah. The light goes through it, and you see a picture as a result. So that's mishtakef. It somehow illustrates or expresses something. Right? Illustrates might be a good word. Right? But kol Yehudi mishtakfim kol inyan Olam. The whole reality of the world shines through and is illustrated through every single yid. Avedose k'mashpia, because every single Jew has an aveda as a mashpia, the one who influences reality, shemesh. Vavedose k'makabel, and every Jew is also a makabel, levana, the moon. Right? Chochmah and Malchus, which we learned yesterday. Sha'al yedei zeh nasa la'aretz ha'aretz. And that's what gives us the koyach to illuminate the world in these two different ways. Ba'or choizer, through the light that returns. That's our main Aveda. because we're down here and there's two levels of light, or Yashar and or Chayzer. Or Yashar comes from above below, or Chayzer, the light that returns, goes from below above. Most of our Veda, we live down here, and our life is to, so to speak, reflect back the light of godliness that is shining down. First, we have to be sensitive to that light, to become a person who's sensitive to godly reality all around us, right? Less sensitive to self and more sensitive to godliness. And if we're more sensitive to godliness, we're also more sensitive to other people, right? Last night I was teaching 85 girls at once, which was well nigh impossible. And there were about 10 sitting in the corner talking for an hour and 15 minutes. Couldn't get them to be quiet. Their fellow students were asking them to be quiet, and they wouldn't be quiet. So at one point we were considering maybe we'll all get up and go to another room and leave them here, right? So we talked about it, but I was too lazy to get up. But one point that was made was these people were clearly being completely insensitive to everybody else in the room, right? Absolutely insensitive. You go out of the room and talk, it's not a problem, but don't sit in the room and talk and bother, 65, 70 other people who want to learn Torah. Unbelievable. So I asked them a number of times to be quiet, but I just gave up after a while. So, but the point was made in class that generally people who are that insensitive to other people are extremely sensitive relative to themselves. If you say anything to them that is in any way, shape, or form, pushing a button, oh my goodness gracious, they folded, chutzpah, who are you to say that? How you're so insensitive. Whereas people who are sensitive to other people tend to be less sensitive relative to themselves, just because it's not what they're thinking about all day long. It doesn't mean they like people saying nasty things to them. No one likes that, and we shouldn't say nasty things to people. But they can deal with it more successfully. So our job is to be sensitive to the elokus in the world and allow it to shine. And we're the Or Chayzer. We're the reflecting that light. We have to be sensitive to the light in order to reflect it. And that's all the things we do. And the Eibishter gives us all sorts of ways of developing that sensitivity. Obviously, davening we find a hard thing to do, but davening is all about developing a sensitivity to elokus. Right?
What's the difference between the light that we reflect and the light that we initiate and then arouse?
Well, it's a good question. By definition, because we're down here, so then our avodah is generally Or Chayzer, meaning we're not creating godly light, we're revealing the godly light that is shining here. Yes, you and I can do amazing things, okay, but we do those amazing things by virtue of the fact that the Eibishter gives us the opportunity from above to do them, right? You and I can do a mitzvah, right? Okay, well, why can we do a mitzvah? So the mitzvah definitely comes from below above, as opposed to Torah, which comes from above below. Those are the difference Chassidus talks about in terms of Torah and mitzvahs. Torah is clearly from above below, and you and I are just dealing with that information that came from above down here. Okay, mitzvah is you and I involving ourselves in physical reality and elevating it. Okay, and that's Or Chayzer. But in all fairness, the only reason we can do that is because the Eibishter gave us the opportunity to do that, right? The Eibishter said, "Here, I'm going to make giving tzedakah be an incredibly important mitzvah. You can relate to me by doing that." Oh, okay, that's amazing. You can surround yourself in a mitzvah all day. You put on tzitzis, you're surrounded in a mitzvah all day. You have this incredible opportunity to be connected to the Eibishter in a constant way and develop that sensitivity. It helps us develop that sensitivity. Being surrounded by that mitzvah. It's a makif, right? That's why in Nigla, the reason you put on a talis before tefillin, why in Nigla would you put on the talis before tefillin? What's the reason I'll be Nigla? Tader v'einu tader, tader karat. Tader v'einu tader, tader karat. Something that's more constant and less constant, you do the more constant first. That's why when you have in the third bracha in benching, you have Shabbos and Rosh Chodesh you say Shabbos first because that happens every week, and Rosh Chodesh only happens once a month, and very rarely on Shabbos, but still only once a month. Okay, so whatever something constant and less constant, you do the constant one first. So that's the reason Al Pi Nigla, why we put on the talis and then put on tefillin. Al Pi Pnimius, why do we put on the talis first? First the makif, first the all surrounding light. And then the light that's drawn down into physical reality, and that's the tefillah. The talus surrounds us. So we want to surround ourselves in godly light all the time. Hebrew said, you just wear a four-corner garment and put tzitzis on, and you're surrounding yourself in godly light. Wow. So mitzad echad, that's the or yosher of it. But you and I, by doing that, that's our or chayzer. But if the Hebrew didn't tell us that putting on a four-corner garment with tzitzis on it is holy, so then you're just a weirdo with strings hanging out of your pants. Right? It's not. It's like enveloping ourselves in godliness. Now, I can be insensitive to that or sensitive to that. Right? But it is an amazing thing that God lets us do. I mean, it's really quite astounding. It gives us such an opportunity. Keeps us warm in the winter, too. It's a little hot in the summer. I know. I don't see those people walking around with no clothes on. I don't see that they're not hot in the summer. We're a little hotter. There's no doubt about that. But, I think it's worth it. I think everybody's hot in the summer. Bepratius, in a more detailed way. These are the two things that a shaliach requires. And we saw this outside, now we're seeing it inside. Bittul l'mishaleach. First he has to be bottled to the mishaleach. He has to be a shaliach. A shaliach means someone sent him. So he has to be sensitive to the fact that he's a shaliach of someone else. Right? So that's the bittul to the mishaleach. And what do we know? Shluchei shel adam k'meiseh. The shaliach of someone is like that person. That's the highest expression of being the shaliach. Right? He's completely bottled, and we see that by Eliezer, which is the story the Rebbe is explaining. We see that by Eliezer because at no point during the whole story of Eliezer's shlichus is Eliezer called by his name. It's called Eved Avram Anechi. He refers to himself, he introduces himself as Eved Avram Anechi, and during the story he's referred to as Ha-Eved. What do you mean, why Eved? We know who he is. We know it's Eliezer. We know the story, right? At the beginning of the story, it says Avram calls Eliezer and he tells him why, and then he's referred to as Ha-Eved the whole time. Why? Well, because in the context of that shlichus, he's completely bottled to Avram Avinu and has, on this level, we'll see there is a level which he does have his own metzias. But on this level, he has no metzias. What is he? He's a shliach of Avram Avinu. That's what he is. Shliach shel Adam Kamesa. He's just Avram Avinu's proxy in this place. Right? Okay. And what does he have? He has all of the riches of Avram Avinu in his hand, in that shtar, in that document that Avram Avinu gave him. Why? In order to bring about the most important thing imaginable, the yichud of Man Ban, which again we learned in yesterday, the day before actually, right? Man Ban, the yichud of Man Ban, the unity of transcendent spiritual reality and mundane, immanent physical reality, the yichud of Yitzchak and Rivka. The ultimate purpose of creation is embodied in that shidduch, and so everything that Avram is all about is that shidduch, and so Avram gives everything he owns to Eliezer to bring it about. Okay, that the Rebbe already explained to us. So mitzad echad is Eliezer bittul l'mishaleach. He's completely bottled to the mishaleach. Al derech ma, al derech levana. Levana is completely bottled to the sun. Just reflects the light of the sun. Doesn't have any light of its own. Aye, but what? There's another aspect of the shliach, and this is what's so fascinating. What else does the shliach have to be? Metzias bifnei atzmai. Has to be his own existence. Bar das, someone with intelligence, creativity, imagination. Shechoishev umevin ba'atzmai, that he thinks and understands himself be'emtso sichla ya'ishi, through his own personal intellect. Ketzad alav lemale shlichuseh. How can he fulfill his shlichus? Lar al aretz, to illuminate the land. What's the Rebbe saying? The Rebbe saying an amazing thing. We talked about it outside. Now we're seeing it inside. I don't know. We're not going to get so much further in the Sicha. There's more to do, but you have it. You can finish it. What shlichus? Shlichus is the yichud of Man Ban. Who's the shliach? The shliach is a living embodiment of the yichud of Man Ban, the yichud of bittul and existence. On one hand, who's the shliach? He's completely bottled to the mishaleach. His whole task is to bring about the fulfillment of the desire of the one who sent him. He has no personal desires. His whole life is dedicated to the agenda of the Mishaleach. But what? He has to express himself in the context of that shlichus. His own intellect, his own emotions, his own creativity. And if he doesn't do that, he's not going to be successful. And where do we see that? Eliezer. Right? We talked about this earlier. Does Avram tell Eliezer how to do it? No. Just to go do it. How? Maybe Eliezer asked. I don't know. We don't know. Get the whole conversation, right? Did Eliezer ask, well, okay, what should I do? Figure it out. What do you mean figure it out? I'm bottled to you. You're bottled to me, but you have your own intellect. Use the intellect that the Eibishter gave you to express that agenda that I'm sending you to express. Come into Elam Hazeh as a shaliach of the Eibishter. Your whole life is what the Eibishter wants from you, but you are expressing your own unique personal powers that the Eibishter gave you, and intellect and emotion and creativity. All of that has to be used solely for the purpose of expressing the shlichus. So mitzad echad, you're completely bottled. Mitzad sheni, you have a mitzias as a person that the Eibishter created with all sorts of incredible powers that you can express. And you have to. That's how God will do it. No! The Eibishter doesn't want to do it. He wants you to do it. That's the chiddush in Dir B'Tachtonim. The Eibishter had a taiva for Dir B'Tachtonim. And what does Chassidus explain non-stop? What's the taiva? If he wants a Dir B'Tachtonim, the Eibishter can create a Dir B'Tachtonim. What's this? So create a world that looks like Tachtonim, but you're revealed there. I don't understand. What do you want from me? But the taiva wasn't that he wants a Dir B'Tachtonim. The taiva that he wants you and I to do that which is necessary to make the world a Dir B'Tachtonim, to reveal that the world is a Dir B'Tachtonim. Because in essence, what's the world? Dir B'Tachtonim. It's a place of unbelievable godly revelation. Okay, but that revelation is hidden. If you can call a revelation hidden. The Eibishter is here. It's all him. Ein od milvado. It's all him. Okay, what's my job? Reveal it. How? Figure it out. He gave us the handbook. You've got a Torah. You've got Torah Shabbal Peh. You've got people who understand this better than you, who explain it in a general way. Sometimes you get lucky and you'll get a specific piece of information from someone who really knows what's going on, right? You might get some information from the Rebbe. You'll learn something that's clearly just for you. You might read a letter that's clearly just for you. It's not just for you, but seems like it. Okay, good. You'll hear a story in Farbrengen. You go, wow, that's exactly what I've been dealing with. Okay, we have to sit in Farbrengen to hear the story, but you'll hear the story in Farbrengen, right? You go, wow, that's amazing. I have to deal with that. I realize I'm not dealing with that. I have to take care of that. Okay. So the Eibishter sent you a message in terms of what has to be done. But ultimately, who's doing it? You're doing it. Who else is going to do it? Who's going to daven Shemona Esrei for you this morning? You're going to figure out how to daven Shemona Esrei better. Right? You can get some guidance. You can hear some ideas. But the only one who's going to daven Shemona Esrei better this morning than you did yesterday is you. There's only one person who can do that in your life. So mitzad echad, complete and total bittul. Ma, that's ma. Ma is bittul, chokhmah. Mitzad sheni, complete and total existence. That's malchus. It's a world. And what are you supposed to do? Use all those keiches that the Eibishter gave you for him. That's the ultimate shlichus. And interesting enough, that's Mashiach. That's the yichud of man ban. That's what it's all about. So the shlichus itself is the yichud of man ban, which is so astounding. So Avram Avinu says to Eliezer, okay, go do this for me. Good. How? Figure it out. And he figures it out. It's a little bizarre what he said. The whole thing is a wild story, right? He's already giving her the jewelry before he even knows who she is. But say, okay, beside her. But Eliezer, he's a cool guy. But he realizes that the Eibishter is doing it all, because that's what Avram Avinu told him. Don't worry, the Eibishter will take care of it. On the other hand, he has to do it. He has to figure it out himself, right? We talked about this earlier. Lubavitcher Rebbe tells a bunch of people, go make a Chabad house. How? Figure it out. Where are you going? Right? Okay, I don't know, Bermuda. Okay, so figure out how to make a Chabad house in Bermuda. Because a Chabad house in Bermuda is going to be very different than a Chabad house in Peoria, Illinois. Right? In Peoria, Illinois, you're going to have snow shoveling, communal snow shoveling. Let's all go shovel snow together. Oh, what a fun thing for our community to do and get together and, be together and accomplish together. In Bermuda, I don't think that'll go. Right? Some guy from Chicago moves on shlichus to well, he did. Raskins from Montreal. That makes Chicago look like Miami, right? So the guy he grew up in Montreal. Now he's in Bermuda. So I'm sure he's using everything he did growing up in Montreal, freezing cold winters. I'm sure that he's using everything that he experienced in Montreal to figure out how to do shlichus in Bermuda. Got to figure it out bichadash, right? What's life like in Bermuda? What are people like in Bermuda? What are they like? How can we get them in the door? Yeah, figure it all out. He'll ask other people, but ultimately, who has to do it? He has to do it. No one else is going to do it. No one else is going to do it. In the end, who does it all? The Eibishter does it all. Okay, but you have to do it. That's a shaliach. So amazing. Bittul and Mishaleach and Metzias Bifnei Atzmei. Both of them at the same time. What's that? Manban. That's Manban that we learned earlier.
If man is bitul, what is ban?
Existence. Ban is Malchus. It's the gematria of Behema. Right?
Ban?
Ban. Same gematria as Behema. So it's the source of your Nefesh Habahamis. It's all the Eibishter. But there's a level of Eibishter that is just shining so brightly, it's mevatel everything in its way. That's man. Completely transcendent reality, that were you to be privy to a revelation of that level, you wouldn't experience your own existence in any way, shape, or form. And then there's Ban. What's that? That's the source of godliness responsible for this world. What do you experience in this world? Me. Pretty powerful. Okay. I can come to the intellectual understanding that that's not really what's going on. Okay, I have to come to that intellectual understanding, but I also have to figure out how to internalize that and actually live that, and that's not so easy. All right? It's so easy. I and me tend to make a lot of noise in my life. Okay, so I have to turn down the volume of the I and me and turn up the volume of Eibishter and you. Okay, that's Avaida, that's real. Okay, how can I do that? Well, I can do that because the essence of me is completely connected to the Eibishter. Okay, but how do I do it down here? That's the ma of me. How do I do it down here? I have to be very creative. Right? People are often very creative in expressing to you why they can't serve God completely in this world, and they'll explain to you their particular situation, and they've got it all figured out, why they're different than everybody else, and for that reason they can't serve God any better than they do. They've got it all figured out. Incredibly creative. They'll talk to you. It's like a 10-minute. It's creative, and it's not that it's not true. There's the result, the conclusion is not true, but the information's true. Okay. So what are we challenged to do? Take that same creativity and figure out how you can serve God, and then go do it, as opposed to using creativity to figure out how I can't. I mean, I can't. God said do it, so obviously I can. Okay, so now figure out how to do it. Harder for some people, easier for others. I don't know. I mean, everybody's got their issues, and everybody has their kaiches. And so if I focus on my issues, I'll keep figuring out how I can't do it. And if I focus on my kaiches, I'll figure out how I can do it. Okay, better the latter than the former. Right? Yeah, and everything in life. Right? The Rebbe was told by the doctors after his heart attack, it's almost Rosh Chodesh Kislev, Thursday night there's going to be a big Farbrengen celebrating Rosh Chodesh Kislev. The Rebbe's, it's not really the official recovery because the Rebbe is still a patient for another Hanukkah. Basically, the Rabbi Groner writes in a diary that basically Hanukkah, the Rebbe decided he's no longer a patient. He was a very good patient for 2 months. And about Hanukkah time, the Rebbe, he didn't tell the doctors, but basically the Rebbe said, okay, I'm back in charge of my life. You guys had your time, you took care of me, Baruch Hashem. The Rebbe's recovery was absolutely miraculous. Right? The Rabbi, Dr. Weiss said that if you had to judge heart attacks 1 to 10, the Rebbe's was 10, the second one. He said most people don't survive it. He said no one comes back to full strength. It just doesn't happen. So the Rebbe non-stop for the next 14 years, just non-stop, right? So, okay, so we celebrate that. But one of the conversations the Rebbe had with one of the doctors, and we see in that whole story the Rebbe leaving all those things he tells us, right? He's always telling us, the positive, don't, blah, blah. Okay, here we see the Rebbe living that through that whole difficult situation for him personally. The day after Simchas Torah, the first heart attack was during dancing Shmini Atzeres night. Later that night, the Rebbe had an even more serious heart attack, and that was the one they were afraid that. And the day after Simchas Torah, the Rebbe asked Rabbi Groner to bring in the mail. So the doctor said, "Mail? You can't look at mail. You have to recover. You have to rest. You can't look at the mail." So the Rebbe said, "Well, but let's say you're right. I don't look at the mail. How long am I not going to look at the mail? 2 months? I shouldn't look at mail? How many letters am I going to have at the end of 2 months? I'll get sick looking at all those letters in 2 months if I don't look at them day by day."
Did the Rebbe let somebody else open the letters?
No. Absolutely
I
not.
mean, that day.
No. Never. The Mazkirim asked. They said, "No, they wrote me. They didn't write you." The Rebbe had one of those little openers. The Rebbe would put it in and open every letter, the envelopes.
Even that first day.
Rebbe never. I haven't heard anything specific about that first day, but when they tell the stories about that first day, they always include opening the envelopes because the Rebbe never let anybody open the envelopes. So they wrote me, not you. They used to ask people to fill up the page because the Rebbe would cut off the bottom of the page if it was empty and put it to the side to be used for some purpose later. What? Who knows? But so they'd ask people if you write the letter. The people knew you. If you wrote a letter to the Rebbe, if you only filled up half a page, cut off the bottom. Otherwise, the Rebbe's going to have to cut off the bottom. So the Rebbe has better things to do than cut off the bottom. He would. All right. Someone once asked the Rebbe in Yechidus. The letters would go back out to the Mazkirim to type up the answers. So someone asked the Rebbe in Yechidus, "Well, what about very, very personal things that people wrote that the Mazkirim shouldn't see?" So the Rebbe opened his drawer, took out a pair of scissors, said, "I have a friend." The Rebbe would cut out personal things, take his time to cut out personal things so that this person's personal information wouldn't be seen by the Mazkirim. It's unbelievable. Right? So the doctors, at a certain point, the Rebbe was having a conversation with one of the doctors, and the Rebbe asked, "What are the chances of this reoccurring?" So the doctor said 25%. So the Rebbe evidently, floated away for a minute. Ad Kedei Kach that the doctor wasn't sure the Rebbe heard him. So the doctor said, "Did the Rebbe hear what I said?" The Rebbe said, "Yes, you told me that I have a 75% chance of this never happening again." That says it all. That's the Rebbe. Yes, there's a 25% chance of it happening. There's also a 75% chance of it not happening. So live the 75. What, are you going to sit and moan about the 25? I'm going to tell you something personal. I apologize. There's this. I was once an organic farmer. Maybe you decided I should be an organic farmer. I was growing something in me that was organic. It was cool. It was organic. It was what's Reuven's thing? HBO, 8NGO, whatever it's supposed to be, right? Reuven would certify it. Super organic. But if it grew anymore, it would have killed me. Right? God forbid that it was found early enough. So I went through that whole process of what you do when you become an organic farmer. So the doctor was amazing. The main guy. I mean, all the doctors were amazing, but there was a main guy who did the operation and was followed me along. So at the end of a month in hospital, so I was leaving, and he said, "There's a 5% chance of something happening again." So 5%, that seems like a big number. So I said to him, "What, 5%? He said, "Now this is how oncologists look at the world. And you don't, Baruch Hashem, and don't ever." He said, "Everybody walking in the street has 3%. That's how you live life? You have a 3% chance of becoming an organic farmer and getting some horrible disease and going through all the terrible things you have to go through to get rid of it. That's how you live life. Oh my gosh. I have 3% chance this morning of having something terrible happen to me. That's how you live life? Or do you say I have a 97% chance of not having anything happen, and Bez Hashem, the Abish will take care of me, and nothing's going to happen, and you get on with life and you completely forget about it. It's not in your head, and it shouldn't be. Why in the world would that be in your head? But I can decide. There are people, you and I know people who walk around all day worrying about the next catastrophe that's going to befall them, right? There are people like that. Right? And there's other people who live life b'simcha because they trust God that everything's going to be okay. And do catastrophes happen to people? Yes. Is that how you live life? That's going to happen to you? No. Right? Every time you get in the car, you look up on your phone. You take out your phone and you look up, latest statistics of car accidents in your area. I mean, what are you, crazy? Get in the car and drive to wherever you're going. Are there car accidents? Of course there are. Do you expect to get into one now? I hope not. Be careful. Is it always your fault? No, there can be a guy in the next lane on a highway going 65 miles an hour who just runs into you. Okay. You're driving on the highway. You have to be aware of the fact that that might happen, so you're careful. But I mean, you're not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm never going to get home. Ah! You call your wife and tell her, give my golf clubs to the kids. What are you, crazy? We don't live like that. Now, the people who do, in different ways. Okay. Relative to the Eibishter, positive creativity in figuring out how to serve him down here. Why? That's what he wants. Who are you? You're a shliach of the Eibishter in Eilam Hazeh. Right? The Eibishter sent you here. Right? To do something. He wants something from you. No, but I have my agenda. I have my plans. I have my whole thing. I'll put you in there somewhere. Don't worry. You'll have your little space. I'll give you a little room off to the side. You'll have your own kitchenette in the room. Don't worry, God. You'll be able to eat over there. It's okay. You'll have a kitchenette. You'll have a bathroom, ensuite bathroom. You have your own little room. I have the mansion. You have this little room over there. No problem. It's not what life is about. Right? That's what the Rebbe is telling us. What is every single one of us? The shaliach of the Eibishter. The Eibishter believes in you enough to create you and send you to Eilam Hazeh to accomplish what he wants you to accomplish in Eilam Hazeh, which is something that only you can accomplish. Because if someone else could do it, there's no need for you. The Rebbe says that beferish. Right? Okay, who's that applied to? Oh, everybody but me. Right. I'm different. Right. That's the biggest yeshus in the world. I'm different. No one's different. We're all the same. We're all the same in our absolute, complete, and total uniqueness. Right? We're all completely unique, which is, that means we're all different. Well, yeah, but we're all the same in being different. Every single one of us is a shaliach of the Eibishter, able to do amazing things in Eilam Hazeh. Everybody's different. Some people's amazing things will be more noticeable. Some people's amazing things will be less noticeable. Some people's amazing things will make them famous. Some people's amazing things will, if they're lucky, not make them famous. Right? Because fame tends to make people less serious. They start worrying more about their fame and less about being a shaliach. Right? But okay. Let's go a little further in the Rebbe's words. Last paragraph on page 296, right column. And from that, Moshe and Mashiach are standing bisachtus, in unity. Geil Rishon and Geil Achron. Nimshach me'ein zeh. It's drawn down like this. Gam b'avedis kol Yehudi. Moshe gives every single one of us the koyach to be like him, to unite these two different aspects of reality. The mashpia and the makabel, the one who's giving and the one who's receiving. Nimshach me'ein zeh gam b'aved kol Yehudi shebator shaliach, as a shaliach is achdu bay, it will be unified in him. Shnei inyanim, the Geil Rishon and the Geil Achron, the Moshe and the David of every single one of us. V'yesh leimar shezeh merumas gam b'mila shemesh. It's very interesting. All right. And we're going to say this outside. The word shemesh, what does it mean? What else does it mean?
Shamish.
What's a shamish?
Oh, it's servant.
A servant. Manyan, no? The mashpia and the makabel. The word shemesh itself contains within it both. It means Those three words, shin, mem, shin, mean shemesh, the source of the light, also means a shamish. What's a shamish? The guy waiting on the table. That's what Rebbe says in that little packet. It's just interesting. Let's finish this last. Al pia meduber le'il shakayach al inyan hashlichus b'chlal. Based on what we said, that the power on this, again, remember, the Rebbe is talking to the shluchim. That's who he's talking to. This is the Parshas Chaye Sara, Kinas HaShluchim, Tavshin Nun Beis, and the Rebbe is giving the marching orders to the shluchim. Right? This is what I want you to do. Shakayach al inyan hashlichus b'chlal noiveya comes from mi'ashlichus arishin shebetorah, the first shlichus in the Torah. What's that? Eliezer. Hashlichus sheshalach Avram es Eliezer. The shlichus that Avram sent Eliezer lasos as a shidduch shel Yitzchak v'Rivka. Man ban. Muvan gamkein. It's understood also. Eliezer was sent to make this shidduch of Yitzchak. But again, the Rebbe, we talked about it earlier. We didn't see it inside. The Rebbe talks about the difference between the shaliach and the shadchan. The shaliach, you might say he's just a shadchan. He's just making a shidduch. Right? And there are times when a shadchan can actually bring about the marriage. You know, they could end up being married through the shadchan, but he's not a shaliach. What's the difference? The shaliach doesn't have his own agenda. The shadchan, it's all about his own agenda. What can the shadchan do? He can bring people together, which is good. In context of what the Rebbe is talking about, every shaliach out there, what can he be? If he's not careful, he can be a shadchan. What does that mean? That means he has his own agenda, his own way of doing things. And what's he doing? He's making a shidduch between these people and the Eibishter and these people and the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Well, how's he doing it? The way he decided. But wait a minute. He's not a shadchan, he's a shaliach. And if he's doing something that the Rebbe doesn't approve of, then the results, obviously results matter, but then those results are not what they should be. Because he's doing it in a way that the Rebbe doesn't approve of. That's a shadchan, not a shaliach. I have to be very, very careful that I'm a shaliach of the mishaleach. Right? So if I'm doing something that's not finding favor in the eyes of the mishaleach, I might be accomplishing something positive, but I'm not a shaliach. I'm a shadchan. I want to be a shadchan, I want to be a shaliach. Remember, it talks about the difference between Eliezer and shadchan, Eliezer, and comes to the conclusion that Eliezer is shliach, and we learn shlichus from Eliezer. That's what happened. That's part of the Sicha we didn't learn. We just talked about it outside. Hashlichus sheshalach Avram es Eliezer lases shidduch shel Yitzchak v'Rivka. Fifth line. Muvan gamkein. It's also understood shekashem shebeshlichus harishayna. Just like in the shlichus harishayna, nosan Avram. Avram gave. Avram is the Mishaleach, the one who's sending. Kol Esheloi, everything that is to him, he gave to Eliezer. Why? Why did he give him this star with all of his riches written in the star? Rashi says, so they'll jump to marry Yitzchak, right? In other words, help him be successful in the shlichus. He's giving him everything he needs to be successful in the shlichus. He still has to figure out how to do it. But he's given everything. Since this is relevant to the fulfillment of the shlichus in its whole, that all of these ideas, will be penetrated in this basic general point of what? Shel yichud man ban, bringing about the unity of man ban, which is the shidduch of Yitzchak and Rivka, Nisur Yitzchak and Rivka. Kach, so too, just like it was by Eliezer, b'chol shlichus Yehudi, in every shlichus of every Jew, and every Jew the Rebbe said is a shliach. He's not only talking to the shluchim, who he refers to as the shluchim of the previous Rebbe, but they would refer to themselves as shluchim of the Rebbe. Kach b'kol shlichus shel Yehudi l'shamesh eskainu, to serve his master, who mekabel kaviyachol, he receives, so to speak, kol asher lo. Everything there is, Miyam Mishalech, from the one who sent him. Who's that? HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Eibusher gives us everything we need to be successful in our particular, unique, personal shlichus in Eilam Hazeh. Ad HaKayach Shel Atzmusei Mahusa Yisbarach, till the strength of the essence of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, HaKayla, that includes Kol Asher Lo. Everything the Eibusher has, he gives you and I. Kedei lifol es a yichud shel neshama v'guf, in order to bring about the unity of our neshama and our guf shel Yehudi be'elam hazeh gashmi in this physical world. So that the guf and the nefesh b'amis won't hide the light of the neshama, they will simply be the vehicles for the expression of the light of the neshama. And we can't express the neshama and elam hazeh without them. U'ba'ofen, in such a way, shekol pratim, all of the details, u'prate pratim, and the details of the details, ba'veidasim shel Yisrael, in the service of a Jew, niyem chadurim, will all be penetrated, b'payil, in actuality, b'nekuda achas v'yechida v'tachlis, in the one point that is the one and unique point that is the ultimate purpose of it all. Why are we here? To bring about the revelation of Mashiach, to create a dwelling place for God in the lower realms. Shleimus inyan shlichus, which is the completion of the matter of shlichus, yichud ma'an ban, which is the unity of ma'an ban. Okay. And Rabbi go. I mean, the Sicha hasn't finished. Rabbi continues in this line, but I mean, we're finished because it's time to stop. But you have the Sicha and you can finish it. Sit with one of the shluchim if you want to finish it. Right? It's a standard. It's an amazing Sicha.
Do you know if this one is translated in English?
Probably is. My guess is it is. Right.
What year?
Tafshin Nun Beis, 1991. It was, this time, it was last week's Parsha, 1991. All right?
Yes. And for that parsha, how many sikhs there were for that parsha? Because sikhs in English usually does 2 or 3.
Yeah, but Sichas in English is usually doing Likutei Sichas. This is not in Likutei Sichas.
Okay.
This is just the Sicha, but these Sichas were for sure part of this is translated, because these Sichas were all translated at the time because they were so monumental and was trying to get the word out. So definitely Eli Tauger translated this. Where you can find it, I don't know, but it might be in a general book about Mashiach, redemption, etc. But you can find this Sicha somewhere. Right?
How long were you gone?
I'm missing 7 days of yeshiva. Thursday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Sunday. I'll be back Monday morning. I won't be here for Chassidus Monday morning. I'll be here hopefully for Gemara Monday.
You'll be back
Monday a week.
in December.
Is it already December?
Somewhere close. The 26th is a Wednesday. So.
Right, the 25th is a Tuesday, because that's when I'm going to see my mother. So on the Monday after that, which would be the 31st of November, which there isn't. I guess it's the 1st of, thank you very much. I guess it's the 1st of December, right?
Next year.
Mine, is that right? 1st of December, does that make sense?
We'll go back to 26.
26, which is a Wednesday. That means Thursday is the 27th. Friday is the 28th. Shabbos the 29th. Sunday, I'm flying on Sunday, that's November 30th. I guess I land on December 1st, you're right. It's December already. Oh my gosh, I better take a coat. Huh?
Delta will change my ticket. You'll see when you get back.
Bezrat Hashem.
God willing, Mashiach could be here. Don't even worry about it.
Bezrat Hashem, I won't have to go. Mashiach will come take it from Miyad, and the place I'm going will come here.
How much land do they have for the castle? Did it come with?
There is land. I mean, I don't know exactly how much, but there is land. It's not like they have acres and acres and acres of farmland.
Do they get the peasants?
But no, there are, people living around there. There's this one, he might even be Jewish. They're not 100% sure. There's this one amazing guy, big beard. He looks like a chassid. He wears a yarmulke all the time. He might even wear tzitzis. I'm not sure. It's not clear he's Jewish. He probably isn't. But you never know. He grew up in Hadich, where the Alter Rebbe is buried in Ukraine. He left Hadich when the war broke out and moved to Vienna with his wife. There might even be a kid, I'm not sure. His wife lives in Vienna. He lives all week in the Sem and helps around the Sem and drives the kids back and forth and does that. So he's in Vienna most of the day, every day. So he sees his wife, drops the kids off at 7:30, and he really doesn't have anything to do until he takes them home at 4. So he's with his wife all day. And he drives them back, and he does, he makes sure that things happen, right? There's something to be fixed. He's just around. He's very, very helpful. Amazing guy. And then weekends, he's in Vienna. So I get a Shabbat Shalom and a Shavua Tov from him every week, because I met him last time I was there. Is he Jewish? He's not Jewish. I don't know. Last time I was there was Chai Elul. So we walked into the room where I was for bringing, and he had already set up 2 candles, one for the Baal Shem Tov, one for the Alter Rebbe. Like, he's this fascinating guy. And so I'll see him Bezrat Hashem this afternoon. Wait, what's today? Wednesday? Yeah, this afternoon. I take a train for half an hour closer to where they are, and then he picks me up there. It saves him an hour driving.
Safe travels. Good seeing you again.
Bezrat Hashem, only good news.
Man. So Rabbi, you leave tonight?
Thank you, Rabbi.
I have a 3 o'clock flight.
Ooh. So
Oh
Rabbi,
my gosh. I didn't give this. I have to give this.
So Rabbi, you said the light that goes from below to above is or
Choser,
Chazer,
the light that returns. The light that comes from above is or Yashar. Rabbi doesn't write it here. Or Yashar, straight light. Straight from above below is called or Yashar. That's the light of the sun. The light that goes back is the light of the moon. So that's us. We're the moon.
Rabbi, you said Moshe was Yechida Klali, and
Every single one of us has a piece of Moshe Rabbeinu's neshama. What does that mean? That means every single one of us has a piece of the Rebbe's neshama. That's why it's so important to have a connection with the Rebbe. He's the panemius of every single one of us. Panemius Rebbe, Chassid. Panemius Chassid, Rebbe. That's what Chassidim all say. Stop.
so Rabbi, we discussed about